Okay, welcoming you guys. I'm so happy to see you guys on live. This is awesome. Okay, let's jump in. How's your morning going? How's your day? Whenever you're watching this, hi to everyone on the recording as well. I'm so grateful that you guys are all here. Like I just said, I'm so excited for this topic. I just did a little live in our Facebook community group. Like, this is a big one for me. Decision making is so massive and is like the most important life skill, I would say. And most people do it backwards. Most people do it wrong. So, I mean, wrong as far as my awareness. It might not be wrong in their point of view, but this is going to be like such a powerful event. It's just going to open you up to so much more awareness. Okay, so I'm going to share our itinerary for the 3 days that we have together right now. Replays will be sent out shortly after each session. So if you want to rewatch them, or if you're watching on the recording and you're wondering when you will receive the next replay, you should receive it right after each session. And then on day 3, I'll send them all out together if you are just joining for the first time. So anyway, part 1. So today is all about the importance of decision making. Okay, so this is a big one. We're going to talk about what most people are doing wrong. We're going to talk about vibrational frequency, what it has to do with anything and everything. We're going to also set a goal. We're going to talk about desires, and we'll continue to work on that desire each day we are together for this event. Okay. Part 2, we're going to talk more about the paradigm. So even if you have joined on a previous event, this material, I mean, like, I totally believe I'm just like channeling, right? I'm just bringing it to you and sharing my own personal experiences. And so it is going to be completely different because we are heavily focused on decision making for this event. But some of the concepts are very similar, okay? The paradigm is the paradigm. But the good news is that the more times you hear about it and you learn about it and you practice it and you work on it, the more times, the more you're going to change it and develop this new, deeper level of understanding and awareness, okay? So we're going to talk about our programming, why when we make decisions, sometimes we end up talking ourselves out of it, right? We're going to also experience one of my favorite tools, like we did last time. I bring EFT into my coaching like almost every time. And I think it's such a powerful tool. Okay, so we're going to use tapping to shift our nervous system. We're going to shift ourselves into a higher level of awareness. We're going to release perceived limitations and move into that higher frequency. Okay, on part 3, our VIP day. So this is on Saturday. This is where we close the gap and bring it all together. We're going to do a guided visualization. This is a big day and my favorite day. It's when we can really connect, okay, especially with those of you who show up live, because I give you an opportunity to come off mute, to ask your questions, to really just get involved. The first 2 days are kind of me talking at you and more of like leading a lesson. But on the 3rd day, I really want it to be more of a conversation. And it is a very special day. I call it VIP day because I want you to feel like you are very important and you are choosing to treat yourself as someone who is very deserving and very important coming to that day. So part 3 is also the day we talk about which programs we have open for enrollment. And I always have an insider's offer for those of you who attend this event. So live on the replays, we'll talk about all of that together on day 3. Okay, so just by showing up and accepting this material, you don't have to accept all of it, at least parts of this material as truth. What you're doing is you're planting seeds in your subconscious. Okay, you're planting seeds that have the potential to completely shift your life. Okay, completely transform the way that you see your reality and the way that you see yourself. Okay, so I want to seriously honor you for and congratulate you guys for showing up live, especially, but even on the recording. I know some people have day jobs and things like that. I want to seriously honor you and congratulate you for making the decision to show up and be open to learning something new. It's incredible how many people will register for something, especially a free event, and then for some reason just not show up. It doesn't even need to be a free event. It can be a paid something or another, right? Or maybe it's a decision or something that we've wanted to do for so long, and we just like keep putting it off. I talked about this the other day on my stories as well, is that it's the paradigm. Something is there, whether it be procrastination, which is rooted in probably fear, right? Something keeps coming up and keeping us where we are. So anyway, we're going to unpack that. So some of the things I share with you over the next 3 days might be ideas that you've heard before, or maybe you're already aware of, or some of them are completely brand new to you. So this is your opportunity to really redesign the way you think, and of course, the way you make decisions. So the more you put into this event, the more you're going to get out of it, obviously. I really hope you guys have your notebooks together. So grab your notebook if you don't. You're going to want to take some notes, some key takeaways away from this event. I'm going to give you some exercises to do as homework. We're also going to be going to work on one exercise here live today. Okay, well, we're in the energy and the frequency of this material. Okay, and then I have a surprise for those of you who take notes each day and share them in our Facebook community group. So I'll let you know what that is on day 3. We're not going to talk about that now, but trust me, take notes. It is like the key, one of the major keys to shifting your awareness. Okay. So everyone knows how to use the chat. You guys that are on live, I want to know, are you somebody who tends to be indecisive and would rather other people make decisions? Or are you someone who makes decisions easily, but then you talk yourself out of it? Or maybe you make your decisions, maybe it takes you a while to make a decision, and then it kind of like doesn't take a while to talk yourself out of it. Has that ever happened? You know, you build up the courage to make the decision, and then you're like, no, like that's no. You also like, maybe are you someone who lacks direction in your life, and you're like, I just wonder what my future holds. I just wonder if this is going to work out for me or not, or I wonder what I should do in this situation. Let me know in the chat if any of this is resonating with you. If you have a specific one that you are like, yep, that's me to a T, let me know. I want to know. Or are you somebody who only makes decisions if you know the hows first, right? If you have the money first, if you have, if you know the specific framework of how it's going to turn out. I used to do that. I used to be in that kind of cycle of making a decision and then getting stuck in the how. And then I'm like, oh, well, it's not, I don't know how it's going to work out. So it's not for me then, right? Okay, let me know. Today, we're going to begin to understand why decision-making is so important, like the most important thing, like I just said. So I want to start with the mind. Okay, so nobody actually knows what or where the mind is really. All we know that it has 2 basic parts. Okay, so we have the conscious mind, which can accept or reject any idea. We can accept or reject any idea. The subconscious mind, which can only accept ideas. Subconscious mind only accepts ideas. Okay, this is also our more feminine, maybe emotional, maybe spiritual part of our mind. Okay, we also have our 5 senses, which most people allow our 5 senses to determine our thoughts, our feelings, and our decisions that we make. Okay, most people make decisions from that place, from our 5 senses. We've been taught as children to live through our 5 senses. And maybe we even teach our own children that, right? To make decisions from that place. So what that means, or like what happens when we do that, is we allow the 3D world, so our outside circumstances, our experiences, to impact our decisions. So we end up sounding something like this: I'll buy the house when I have the money, or I'll take that trip when the kids are older. Whatever it is, right? We allow our 3D world to impact our decision. Okay, so I want you to ponder this. Our 3D world is old news, right? We know that now. Our 3D world is old news. It's expired. Our past thinking created our current results, right? So if we continue to think through our 5 senses and allow those 5 senses to determine our thoughts, our feelings, and our actions, our beliefs, we will continue to create more of the same. And that's why most people do. Okay. So there's no doubt that we're just going to create more of the same. Makes sense, right? You guys, let me know in the chat. Making sense. It's making sense. We got this. Okay. So let's talk about, okay. So Kyle, I'm going to share what you said. I felt all those different times, I have felt all of these at different times. I get excited about something and I slowly talk myself out of it, or get really confused in my head about it, or I debate a decision so long that it becomes unclear about what I actually want to do. Yes. Amazing. Okay. So what, I think we're going to talk about this in a little bit here. Like what happens when we debate a decision, or we are like, oh, the how. We're like, oh, it's going to happen when this happens. When this happens, right? Some people wait for like a new year, for example. I'm going to start in January 1st. So I'm like hitting the ground running, whatever it is, right? We wait for something and then we're like, okay, I'm going to start, right? If we don't develop the identity-based habits to bring our frequency in alignment with that decision, which we're going to talk about in a little bit here, we will self-sabotage, right? And what happens when we get in that debate with ourselves is we end up talking ourselves out of it, or we're like, oh, it's on the back burner for now, but I will get back to it. We end up losing the fire. We end up losing the passion for that desire. And we kind of forget, why did we want it in the first place? And we're like, wow. And then all the things, oh, it was selfish. Like, I don't deserve that. Or I will never have that amount of money. Or this person tells me this, so then it must be true. All of those things. So crazy, right? Yeah. Okay. I'm good at making decisions, but I let my partner talk me out of it. Or I feel like my decisions are selfish and just quit on it. Interesting, right? Oh, it's interesting. We're going to talk about that too. We talked about this a little bit on Manifest, about like how our decisions and our desires are like ours for a reason. Like we are here to do big things. We're here, even if your things, like, you don't feel like they're that big, like, I'm not going to change the world, I'm not going to save everybody, whatever that means, right? But it's big to you, right? And it's your journey, and it's yours for a reason, right? So let's talk about that in a little bit here. Thank you guys for sharing. Let's talk about how a paradigm is formed, and then get into that more. Okay. So we're going to talk like all about paradigms tomorrow. I have a couple like really cool new exercises that we're going to do to really start to discover it and understand it. So paradigm, basically a collection of beliefs that we collected over time, and therefore, and even before we were born. Okay, so paradigm is like our personal lens, our personal filter. It's kind of like even like a passport with our stamps in it, right? It's like where all of these things that we collect, that we begin to identify through. It's our filter. It's the way that we see the world. Okay, it's kind of like our own personal governor as well. I like to think of it like it's, a car has sometimes a governor, like you can't go over 140 kilometers an hour, for example. It has a governor and it'll keep you at that place. This is a paradigm. Okay, it keeps you safe, and sometimes it's passed down through generations. Okay, so we got these perceptions, these beliefs, this way that we see ourselves from people outside of us, right? Interesting concept when we think about it, because our paradigm has like control over so many different things, right? And one of them is our ability to earn money, our ability to like how we use time. That's huge, right? So if you just think about it for a second, if your desire and something about your desire has to do with money, or you're a goal, and think about how maybe even you were raised and how your parents, how their paradigm was around money, or their perspective around money. Is that in any way, are you connected to that still? Are you identifying through their paradigm? So such a curious question, right? So when we were tiny babies, the subconscious part of our mind was wide open. And we remember that like that's the part of our mind that can only accept ideas. It cannot reject. So we run around all day, our whole day, accepting every idea as truth. So our parents, how they acted, their choices, their beliefs, their views, their, thoughts about money, thoughts about other people, like just everything. We went around accepting it all, right? So I want you guys to reflect on that just for a second here. Like, does that resonate? Do I do I carry a piece of my family's paradigm, and is it serving me? I always say, like, I never listen to anyone who's not where I want to be. I still am a very rebellious child, maybe person. But I know I'm not going to listen to you if you're not where I want to be. Okay. So sorry. But like your results, somebody's results show me where their mind is. It shows me where their thinking is. Okay. So anyway, just a little like thing to ponder, right? How are our parents? We also could have received, parts of our paradigm from our teachers, caregivers, like just people in our lives, right? And it's not their fault. It's just as, they're doing their best with what they had or what they knew. Okay, but it's never too late to change the paradigm. It starts with the awareness, right? The awareness. So some of us, if not all of us, have made a decision in the past. We've talked ourselves out of it in record time. That's our paradigm, period. Okay, that's our paradigm. They're tricky. It's a tricky thing because if we want to grow, if we want to experience something different, if we want to expand, and we want to do different things in our life, we'll need to change the paradigm in order to push through that glass ceiling. Because if we're making a decision and then we have something tell us you're not worthy, that's a paradigm. Why the hell am I not worthy? Right? Like that's such a lie. Or that's selfish. No way, Jose, because when I grow and expand, I help other people around me, and who knows, even global consciousness as a whole, to expand and grow. Do you have children? This is our duty. Like in my opinion, I'm like, I'm going to challenge these thoughts and perceptions, because I want to raise children that don't have to heal from their childhood. Right? That gives me shivers. Like, I want to raise children that are so solid in their confidence, in their self-worth, in their like determination and like their direction in life. And that is on something that I can influence, no matter how old your children are, just by simply making that choice to get after it, right? And stop with all this noise and these limitations that we put on ourselves, right? We get to step into that now, and through just even deciding, you guys, as we're going to talk about in a second here, just through deciding, we change our entire experience. We change. Okay. So we know already, I mean, I'm speaking like all of you know all of this material already, but those of you on the replay, you're probably like a little bit like, wow, mind blown, never heard of a paradigm before, because me a year ago had never heard of the word paradigm. Hey, let me know, you guys that are on live, if you're relatively new to the word paradigm, and no judgment, of course. I had known of like conditioning and programs and things, but I had actually never heard of the word paradigm. I was like, this is a funny word. I didn't even know how to spell it. So just complete transparency here. And the more I really studied it and got into the material and was like, wow, my mind is blown. I am like, wow. Okay, so much makes sense now. So anyway, those of you on the recording, I will stop assuming that you know what a paradigm is, because probably most of you don't. So there are two ways to change the paradigm. One, through emotional response. Usually it's negative and it's kind of intense. It doesn't necessarily need to be, but changing the paradigm through like something really like, whoa, holy shit, or life-threatening, that's a pretty fast way to change your mind, right? And forever. And then the second way is through constant spaced repetition. So basically brainwashing yourself into thinking differently. Okay, emotional response. I want to give you guys a quick example. Most of you know, hold on. Most of you know, I used to be a single mom. Prior to having my own kids, I loved traveling, loved traveling the world. Left high school early, traveling, like all the things, just loved it, right? And so I've been to many different countries. When I became a mom, kind of unexpectedly, and chose to raise my babies alone, I wanted more than anything to show my babies the world, but my odds were against me, or so the average person would say, right? Status quo would say there's no chance in hell that a single mom is going to go travel the world with her 2 little babies with no mat leave, no job, like doesn't even happen, right? So long story short, here's an example of that emotional response. Okay, I crashed my mom's truck one day. It was super icy, black ice, January 2019, with my 1-year-old in the car, my way to pick up my son from forest school. We rode off the truck. It was very intense, very scary, very life-changing, life-threatening, all the things, very icy, scary. Okay. In that moment, I decided that I would not spend another winter, at least just the next winter, in Canada in that moment. Okay. I made such a profound, deep decision that everything changed. Okay. Everything changed, but at the same time, nothing changed. Everything changed. Okay. But somebody looking from the outside, nothing changed. Okay. Keep in mind, again, no mat leave. I used to live in government housing that was nicknamed No Daddy Lane. Sounds super appealing, right? I was just barely getting by. At that time, I was building an online MLM business during nap times, after bedtimes. I did not know how, but I knew that I was like, we are out of here. I don't know where I'm going, what I'm doing, or how I'm going to make it happen. I know that everything is going to work out for me to be able to get out of Canada, get out of these winters. So those of you in Canada, or even parts of the States that gets really long winters, it is, yeah, it's hard, right? It's intense is the word. It's intense. And so I made that decision. I just had such an emotional response in that moment that everything shifted. So here's what happens. The second we make a committed decision, keyword, everything begins to change. So we begin to think and act like the person who already has our desire in the physical. Okay, have you ever experienced that? Even just for a moment, you're like, make a decision and you're like, all of a sudden you're like renewed. You're like, stand up, like, wow, I move differently. And maybe now, once you really make a committed decision and act in the assumption of it being real, you'll experience that now. You'll actually have the awareness to feel that. So most of the time, the paradigm sneaks in totally unnoticed. Remember that most people do not know what a paradigm is. They do not know that these programs and conditionings can be shifted. They don't know that, like, what it is at all. So it comes in totally unnoticed, and we end up talking ourselves out of it. Okay, it's so sneaky. I was stuck in this cycle for years. Okay, I'd make a decision, I'd be all excited about it, and then the next day it's done. I'm like, nope, selfish, or how the hell, or who am I, or no one would listen to me, or anything, right? Like, we talk ourselves out of it so fast. It's so crazy. And like, the average person looks at that and is like, oh, it must not be for me. And I'm like, no, that's complete crap. It is for you. It is yours. Okay. It's just your old way of thinking that is keeping you thinking that it's not yours. Okay. So when I first decided I was leaving Canada alone, this is going to relate to your thing there, Larissa, is I was like, I'm not telling anyone, right? I'm not telling anyone. How the hell, like, anytime, has this ever happened? I want to know in the chat also. You guys, you make a decision and you tell someone and they're like, look at you like you've got 3 heads. And you get this feeling in your gut and you're like, oh, I don't know. Maybe is this not real? Is this too big? Am I selfish? Am I like being unrealistic? Tell me, has this happened before? I caught myself just the other day doing this. We're working on something really big right now. I'm like the logical person. It often changes the energy when you share. Yes. So interesting. So we're working on something really big, and I shared it with someone, and their reaction caused a reaction in my body. And I observed the reaction and I was like, observing this like weird feeling in my stomach right now, I'm choosing to reject it because I know what it is. This is what happens when we build the awareness around the paradigm itself. Maybe this is part of shifting the paradigm. This is part of changing it, is developing the awareness that it's there. That's huge. And then telling it where to go, right? We are developing the awareness around what it is. We're calling it out. We're calling it out and being like, no, go away. I'm strong, right? I can do big things. I am here to do this. This is mine for a reason. Like all of these things, right? Crazy. Yes. But they find every hole and problem, how real, unrealistic it is. Exactly. So what does that mean? Do we not share anything with anyone? When I was leaving Canada and I was like, goodness gracious, how am I going to tell my mom? Like, how is my mom gonna react to this? So I didn't tell her. Sorry, mom. So I didn't tell her for a long time. I was like, in my head, I was already there. I was already in Costa Rica, and I would play with my kids in that space. They knew exactly what we were doing. They knew that what was to come, that we were going on a trip, we were going on an adventure. I didn't know it was Costa Rica until probably about a month before I left. I just knew I was going somewhere. Okay. Sometimes we don't need to know all the details. We need to trust that every detail is going to come. Okay. Of course, knowing all the details, like as many details as we can to get in the feeling of it, is helpful. But in my case, with going somewhere hot, it was just we're leaving the country, we're going somewhere hot. Okay. And we were in that energy. So we cannot allow other people's perspectives to derail us. So sometimes what happens like I said, I noticed it in myself the other day. We can utilize that awareness that we have this feeling when we tell other people our goal or desire, and they come back with that. We can use that as proof that we are still not certain on it. We are still not, there's something about that desire that we question, right? And even in myself, right? That's 100% what could have happened, because I was in such a vulnerable place that I was like, man, if somebody came back with like a legit, they could have talked me out of it. But I was so solid in my decision that I was like, better not tell anyone, because I know I'm not strong enough. Right back then, right? But now we have this awareness that we can develop this awareness that we know where we're going, we know what we want, and we can stand tall and strong in it. And what tends to happen is we will start to repel those opinions of people, right? Because what we think about, we create. Okay, so what we can ask ourselves when we have those conversations or those situations come up, what in me created that conversation? Does that resonate? Is that interesting, right? Because I did that the other day when I had that situation. It was just a little tinge of like, oh, there's something there, right? But what in me caused that person to respond to me in that way? And I used it almost as fuel for my fire. Like I used it as like, I need to get even more committed to my desire, so that there is nobody is going to even question the way I am working or the desire that I have, because I am so solid in my decision. I am so confident that I repel those interactions. Okay. Sometimes they might happen. When we're working with big, bold decisions like this, people just cannot fathom it. They just do not have this awareness. Okay. And so that's a big one. That's a big one. So I want to also say here that this is also why having community support is so freaking important, right? Right. Okay. This is why surrounding yourself with people who are on a similar frequency, who want to grow, who want to move, is so important. And if you're like I didn't have anyone like that around me, period. But I did have people online that inspired me and that pushed me, even if they didn't know it did, that pushed me to want to be better, to do better, to get better, to grow every single day, and to recommit myself. Every day is a choice. I get to wake up and recommit myself to my desire every single day. Okay, so the second way to change a paradigm is through constant spaced repetition. Constant spaced repetition basically means brainwashing ourselves into thinking different thoughts over and over and over and over again. No matter where we are in our own journey, our own growth, wherever we are, we will always have something come up. We'll always have that something or another that comes up to question, to make us question, right? Or to challenge us. We'll always have some sort of, some people say like new level, new devil, like whatever that even means. Like we will have different glass ceilings that we create no matter where we are at our income level, at our success, at our like whatever it is. We're going to have these glass ceilings that show up. And if we do not have the tools or the awareness or the support to lean on in those times, that's why we've made decisions in the past. And that's why we've talked ourselves out of it. We didn't have that awareness. We didn't have that support. We didn't have these tools. Okay, so tomorrow we're going to talk about EFT. I'm going to introduce you to EFT. Those of you that don't know what EFT is, it's basically emotional freedom techniques. We're tapping on acupressure points on the body, and we are talking about our feelings. Basically, okay, sounds nuts, but I promise you it is an incredible catalyst, or it could be a catalyst. It has been an incredible catalyst in my own personal transformation over the years, and it's something I use every single day without fail, every single day, no matter where I am. Most of the time it's in my morning practice, but sometimes if I'm on the beach and something's not sitting well, I'm like, I'm going to tap it out. I'm going to tap on it just to unpack it right here and right now. So we're going to get into our own limiting beliefs, trying to talk us down no matter where we are, no matter what level we're at. We will outgrow our paradigm and we will create a new one. Okay. And then we will outgrow that paradigm and we will create a new one. A paradigm we will outgrow. Another word that I want to say is our own awareness of what's possible. Okay. So if you're somebody now, let's just use money as an example because it's an easy thing to relate to. If you're somebody who has a 10K a month goal, okay, and you are currently not making anywhere near that, and then you expand your awareness to realize that it is inside of you and your ability to make $10,000 a month is right there waiting for you to realize it, you get there. And then you're like, dang, now I made $10,000 a month. Now I need to reprogram myself again. I need to expand my awareness again so I can move even more energy in and through my being and my life, my business, whatever, right? It's the point, I've seen this before, is where people hit that goal, that desire, whatever it is. They reach that goal and desire and they get lost. It happened to me personally. I had a really big goal in my MLM business in the past, and it was massive. It was the goal I had from the very beginning. I reached it and I was like, shit, now what? Now what? And so much stuff came in, so much about, who are you for wanting more? Who are you for, all of these things, like, what is the next level? And so we always are going to reach those beliefs, those decisions. We're going to reach those goals, those desires. We're going to bring them into the physical, but we're going to have to shift again and continue to grow. Otherwise we cap out. And when we are not growing, what happens? We know this from Manifest. When we are not growing, we're going the opposite direction. Okay. So some people say, take a look at your income from last year. If you want to talk about money, or like even your life, if you're looking at your life, the house you live in, wherever you are, is it in comparison to the last year? Would you personally say that it is better in your favor? It is more desirable for you, or the opposite, right? Something that I have deeply, deeply committed to myself is I will not go backwards. I will not downgrade. I'm only going up. And sometimes, some days, I still do have those feelings of self-doubt. I still do have those silly voices in my head saying, oh, just get a smaller house. You'll save this much money per month. And I'm like, what a joke. What a joke. That is absolutely like, I'm sorry if this is the way that you think, but I want to expand your awareness right here and now. And this is actually something that a close family member, I'm not going to name any names, said to me when they came to visit. They said, who are you to live in this nice house? You don't need a pool. Your kids do not need to go to private school. Right? You should just get a smaller house and you can save a few $100s each month and you can work towards something else. I was like, wow, it's an interesting assessment. That was not welcome. It's interesting. It hurts a little more when it comes from such a close family member, but it really was like, holy shit, I will never, ever think that way. Okay. And I hope that you guys have that awareness now, that you begin to question those thoughts that come in. We don't need to downgrade. There is limitless resources, limitless abundance, limitless ways to earn. I don't even like the word earn. Never mind. Not earn. We're not earning anything. We are moving energy. Okay. We are moving money through us. We are a vessel that we can receive and we can give. It can come and it can go. Okay. There's limitlessness all around us. Okay. So we must have tools in our toolkit. That's the biggest thing here, is that we must have tools in our toolkit to develop the awareness for us to be able to recognize what's happening around us, these thoughts, these perspectives, these opinions of other people, or even from ourselves, right? And we're able to recognize them and shift them. We need to recognize what's happening, shift out of it, come back into alignment with our truth. Come back into our alignment with our truth, right? Like I said before, community support, people around you who believe in you, in your dreams, people who help you to dream big, who hold you accountable, who encourage you and who guide you, right? This is so big. And the reason why, like I said before, I continued on as a single mom in the thick of motherhood alone. I was looking back at those pictures and was like, literally, I would record myself and my babies because I didn't have anyone to share it with. It's intense. And maybe you've been there as well, right? Like I wanted to remember those things and share those experiences, like babies taking first steps and things like that. I didn't have anyone to share it with. So I recorded it and I have it on. So it makes me really emotional. So like most people in those situations, and like, it doesn't have to be my situation. It can be your past situation, something that you've overcome, or maybe you're in that thick of that place right now. Most people will stay where they are. Most people will stay where they are and just settle for what they have and say, this is my life, right? This is as good as it gets. I can't do that because XYZ. This person will think this of me. This, my mom, da, 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 da. It's so crazy, right? It's so crazy to think that way. So when we allow, even especially our partners, our partners are a tricky one, right? And if we, like I said this on Manifest as well, we need to get them thinking bigger. So I personally sit down with my partner and I'm like, listen, we need to talk about where we want to go, what we want to do, because the moment we decide, and when we decide together, like I have a husband and wife team that are coming into Transform, which we're going to talk about on Saturday. And I'm like, oh man, that's like the secret ingredient to absolute catastrophic change is the thing, right? So when it's our husband or our spouse or our partner that is talking us out of things, I've been there. The dad of my two older kids, I remember I don't know why I still hold this, but I guess it's fuel for my flame, right? He was my first piece of firewood. I like to say he was my first piece of firewood for my business. My my MLM business, my first business, that I was literally like in the depths of like, holy shit, not a lot going on, right? He was like, why don't you go get a real job? And I was like, ooh, that's a good one. I've never had a real job and I'm not about to start now. Okay. So I was like, wow, that's interesting. That's an interesting perspective there. And let me show you what a real job is. Right. And then, yeah, 4 years later, I had built that not real job to a sustainable point where I was making residual income and able to leave the country and move to a different country with the 2 kids alone. Like, okay. So that's what I mean. I use people's opinions and perspectives as my fuel for my flame sometimes. But when it's your partner and you really, truly are connected in different ways and you really want to keep that relationship alive, see if you can connect with them. My perspective, see if you can connect with them and say, let's talk about where we want to go. How can you break through that wall that he's put up? How can you help him to dream? And I mean, some people, especially men, I don't know, especially men, actually, I take that back. Some people have such a strong paradigm that they're like, no, not possible. It's not possible. They don't see it. So if that's the case, I honestly would say, you need to show them through your actions. You need to show them what you can do. So if you start to change your awareness, we talked about this a little bit actually on our call. If you start to change your awareness, if you start to show up differently each and every day, they're going to change through watching you. I do that with my kids a lot. I lead by example. And they follow. Okay. And eventually they get into your energy and into this awareness as well. Okay. It's kind of something like drinking water, right? Like, I don't know why, but a lot of people in my whatever have always said, oh, you inspire me to drink more water. I'm like, but I've never told them one time to drink water. I just drink a ton of water. And so they just feel inspired to drink more water. That's a kind of a weird example, but it's kind of similar, right? So anyway, our spirit is always 100% for expansion and fuller expression. 100%. Okay. There is no reason at all for us to think small at all, period. Okay. Lack is man-made. It's not real. It's created in our mind. It's passed down through generations where lack and limitation was a huge reality. Okay. For a lot of people, maybe it was after like Great Depression, the war, where there's like food rations, like that is serious stuff. That is where our paradigm came from, you guys. We don't have lack and limitation today, giant B. We have nothing but opportunities. Okay, nothing but opportunities today. We have no lack and limitation. Okay, and if you're living in lack and limitation, see if you can shift that perspective a little bit. Okay, we're not here to live in poverty or just get by. The only reason we aren't where we want to be is because there's a disconnect. We have a belief or a group of beliefs, our paradigm, that is keeping us there. Okay, the only thing separating you from where you want to be is the belief that you're not already there. That's a big one. The only thing separating you from where you want to be and where you currently are is the belief that you're not already there. Ponder that, write that down. That is good. It just like, it's so interesting, right? So let's talk about frequency. Frequency, we think on frequency. Thought is energy. Our thoughts are the most potent form of energy that there is. Okay, our thoughts create our reality. If we want to see different things in our experience, we need to change the way we think. Are we saying, yeah, but this is happening? Yeah, it continues to happen because you keep thinking it. Okay, it's hard to hear sometimes and hard to understand maybe, but it's kind of a basic concept. Stop thinking those thoughts and change them for different thoughts and continually brainwash yourself into thinking those new thoughts. It's inevitable that your experience will change. Okay, Have you ever thought of somebody? Let me know in the chat if this has happened. Have you ever thought of somebody and then they like suddenly call you or message you, or like they drive by you or something? Isn't that crazy? Thought energy is so powerful. It is the most potent form of energy that there is. Okay, so our thoughts, what happened there is it activated some cells in their brain. You know, some people believe that what's it called? Telepathy is possible, or you can speak in your mind. Who knows, right? But something triggered something in them, activated it, called you. Interesting. We live in a vibrational world, a vibrational reality. Everything has a vibration, everything, even our bodies, especially our bodies, our minds, our thoughts have vibrations. We become what we think about. So when we think in frequencies, we can use the example of phones, okay? We can use the example of phones. If I'm trying to send a message to Kyle, for example, and I don't have her phone number, AKA her frequency, I will never get through to her, ever. Never. I'll never get you'll never receive my message, okay? I'll never get through to her. It's the awareness that I don't yet have her number that will push me to find her number and eventually get through to her. Okay, that's a simple, basic concept. No matter where we are in the world, if we're on the same frequency, if I have her number, that's her frequency, I can send her a message. We can talk anytime we want, okay? So what does this have to do with decision making? Yes. That happens a lot to me usually when people that I was close with growing up and haven't heard from them in a long time. Do you mean the piece of them influencing your decisions? Can't remember what we're talking about. Or maybe lack and limitation. I don't remember. Claire, clear that up there, Larissa, and then I'd love to expand on that. So what does this have to do with decision making? This whole like thought frequency thing. If we have a desire, and we are on this frequency here, okay, we're here down here, and our desire is here, we will never manifest our desire. AKA manifestation is basically just bringing this thing into our 3D world. It's already here. It's just realizing that it's here. Excuse me. We will never manifest our desire until we move on to the same frequency. Okay. Law of attraction, like attracts like. Law of vibration, here it is. But we need to have the awareness that we're not on that frequency. And that's what we're doing here today. We need to study our mind and our thoughts and realize I need to develop the awareness of where I am, first of all, right? We need to be constantly choosing to accept or reject any idea. We can change where we are in an instant, right? Just through our thinking, just through decision making, like I mentioned. Oh, I see. Yeah. Okay, so that happens to me. Yeah, usually with people I was close with growing up and haven't heard from them in a long time, and then you start thinking about them, and then all of a sudden you see them. Totally, I've done that before too. It's so strange. Or like Facebook all of a sudden pops them up on your thing, like suggested people, and you're like, how the hell? How did you know? Are you in my mind? Thought frequency, so powerful. So how do we get onto that frequency? We make a committed decision. Remember that the moment we make a decision, the moment we make a committed decision, we change. Our world changes. We move differently. We think differently. The how begins to show up step by step by step, exactly as we need it. It's nuts. Okay. And going back to the thing about our partners and then like looking at us like we have three heads when we say something like this, they're like, I'm not going to trust you to da because of, whatever. It's so funny. Andy sometimes does that as well. Like he'll say something and he'll say, yeah, but we need to do this, and this first. And I'm like, you're thinking backwards. This is how we should be thinking. And so I am constantly reminding him and expanding his own awareness too. Like, you guys, if you would have met him 4 years ago, before I came into his life, he is a completely different person, night and day. Okay. And when I personally look back at my life, like, when you get story, like reminders and memories 4 years ago, I'm like, who is that even? Like, who am I? Who was I? So crazy. So anyway, we're all growing and we're all expanding. But if you are somebody who is not looking back 4 years ago and saying, who the hell was that? Welcome, because this is your opportunity to change right here and right now, to make a committed decision, to move on to a different frequency. Okay. And the more we can stay in that expectant state, living in joy, living in the joyful expectation of the wish fulfilled. And this takes practice, right? Sometimes we're like, how the hell can I live in joy when like shit sucks? Sorry, but like my reality is not very ideal. How can I be in gratitude of things that are less than ideal right now? So it takes practice. It takes a lot of imagination. Okay, some people are like, but how can I imagine I'm somewhere that I'm not when this is what I see, this is what I'm used to? It takes imagination. It takes remembering how to use our imagination. Okay, so the more that we can stay in that expectant state, living in joyful expectation of the wish fulfilled, fully believing that it's on its way to us and holding true to it, because sometimes what happens is we get discouraged because it's not here yet. What happens when we make a decision is, it's, some people call it the vortex. I'm not sure if I'm really convinced on this word yet. We make a decision, it goes into the vortex and it's there and it's coming into reality. It's coming into the physical. It's beginning to show up. But the moment we question whether or not it's coming, we question ourselves, we question our worthiness, anything, we derail it. We postpone it. Okay. There is a lag. There is a lag because we need to develop the awareness to come up to that level, that frequency. And we need to live in joyful expectation of the wish fulfilled, fully believing it's on its way to us. This is how we close the gap, attract our desire to us. This is also known as collapsing time, quantum leaping. Okay. We're going to talk more about this way deeper on day 3. So what I want us all to do right now is make a decision. Okay, ask yourself, what is one thing that you really, 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 really want to have in your physical world, but for some reason you've been putting it off, or you're waiting until XYZ. Okay, we are the only ones who can change our thoughts and choose again. Waiting for somebody else, waiting for circumstances to change. We're just, like, I don't want to say like wasting time, but we're kind of just wasting time. And time is our most valuable resource. We don't know how to get that back yet, really. I know it is nonlinear and it is relative to each person. But I mean, it's time to make the decision. It's time to choose our thoughts. Okay. So I want us to take 3 minutes right now. Get super duper clear on this decision. Well, we're all on the same frequency. Check in. How are you feeling? You kind of excited? Kind of like, curious, open to different opportunities, experiences, different than what you've been currently maybe experiencing up until now. I want you to notice how you're feeling. And I want you to notice that maybe your awareness has shifted a little bit and has brought you onto a different frequency. Even just showing up here and listening to me talk at you, it's shifted your awareness. It's shifted your frequency. Okay, so I'm going to put on some music for 3 minutes. I hope there's no ads on my YouTube. Sorry ahead of time. Get your notebook and allow yourself to dream. We have 3 minutes together. Okay, write out your desire. Get so clear on it. Write all the details as much as you feel gets you into that energy. Okay, so it can be anything. If it's like a certain property that you are manifesting, how is it going to feel when you first step foot on your property, on your land? Okay, how is it going to feel when you're signing the paperwork and everything is solidified and everything's worked out? I want you to be in that energy of like relief, of like, oh, it feels so good. It feels like it's all behind me. It's already done. Okay. When you're writing, I want you to write in the present tense as if already it's a done deal. It's already real. Your subconscious mind does not know what is actually real or what is not yet real. Okay. So remember that any idea we can hold in the screen of our mind, we can bring into the physical. Okay. So while we're doing this writing exercise, I also want you to pay attention to all the hows, all the what ifs, all the like, yeah, buts, all the, oh my gods. Okay. this is going to be your homework tonight. I'm going to expand on it in a second here, but pay attention to that as well and write it down on a different piece of paper. Okay, we're going to unpack those tomorrow. It's going to be huge. So I'm going to turn on some music, 3 minutes, and go. Let's do it.
Drip, drip, drop, iced out my amethyst. And they both smoke cannabis. I don't stress, I sit and manifest. Ooh, I'm so abundant. Ooh, the money coming. Ooh, I look stunning. Gratitude, it's a mood, it's a mood. Ooh, iced out, amethyst dripping. Third eye woke, I got vision. All these good vibes got you simping. If he practicing presents, I might gift him. I feel good, I'm feeling blessed. My biggest flex is I manifest. See my TikToks, now he wanna connect. If the energy off, then I can't invest. Sorry, drip, drip, drop, iced out my amethyst. Too bad, and they both smoke cannabis. I don't stress, I sit and manifest. No bad vibes that irrelevant. Let you up if you with my element. Third eye woke and I'm feeling real elegant.
Okay, guys, how'd it go? What was that? So interesting, right? What comes up? It's incredible what our imagination can do, right? And how vivid it can be. When we paint the picture of our desire, right? It can go like to such incredible, we can create such incredible pictures in our mind, right? And so what I want us to do is connect to the awareness that we can create that in our physical reality. We can bring that outside. Okay, the more we practice this, the stronger it will get, the stronger we will get. Remember that, like outside influence is not a thing unless we allow it to be, right? We need to be strong in our decision, strong and clear in our confidence, our like certainty. It is real. Okay. The how doesn't matter. So let me know, did the how come up? Did the how? Yeah. You're like, the how came up. The what ifs, the oh my gods, right? So this needs to be a part of your daily. Yeah, it's so strong, so many questions. Oh my gosh, yes. So make this part of your daily practice to just sit and just dream. Just be there. I often I'll make myself like a nice iced tea or something, and I'll just go sit in my like lounge chair and I'm working, right? I'm working right now. I am dreaming, and that is huge, right? So whatever makes you feel good and feel in that state, in that frequency vibration, do that thing. Maybe it's going for a walk with your dogs, right? And you're like, I am in the frequency of that place, of that desire being real in my physical 3D. Really, really impress these ideas, accept these ideas as truth. Your subconscious will believe them over time. Okay, do this as often as you possibly can. Remember, present tense, present tense, present tense. I am so happy and grateful now that XYZ, get in that energy, right? Some people believe that you need to write this out 150 times, twice a day. I'm not going to say that. But if that resonates with you, you do you, right? I choose to take the path of least resistance, the effortless way, and just accept my belief. Anything I write down on paper comes true. That's a belief that I've accepted. Anything I write down manifests into my physical reality fast. Okay, that's a belief I have accepted as truth. And guess what? Once we accept that as truth, it has no other, there's no other way it's going to come, right? So I love this quote by Einstein. I think I shared it before. Everything is energy. That's all there is to it. Match the frequency of the reality that you want, and you cannot help but get that reality. It can be no other way. This is not philosophy. This is physics. Match the frequency of the reality that you want, and you cannot help but get that reality. Okay, so if you find yourself surrounded by people who are not on that frequency, stay on your frequency. And through you becoming even stronger and more clear and more determined and more just like in flow, right? That will attract them into it too, right? That will rub off on them. So you guys, thank you so much for being here today, especially those of you guys on live. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You guys are amazing. Thank you for making the decision to be here, to show up, to commit to your own growth, expansion, and transformation. Hi again to everyone on the recording. Please, thank you so much for showing up. Please try to show up live when you can. Your homework today is to write out all of your self-perceived limitations. Okay, all of the hows, all the buts, oh my gods, all the things surrounding that desire that you chose. Write it all out. I would highly suggest doing it right now after we log off today. Do it right now while it's fresh and you're still in this energy. Okay, and then notice what happens later tonight. Do you get derailed? Does your energy dwindle? Is there a way that you can connect yourself back into the frequency of your desire? Okay, develop those practices yourself, and that awareness is going to change everything for you. Okay, so see you guys tomorrow, same place, same time. Remember that there's something for you if you're doing the homework, okay? So do the homework, really commit to this work, and you're going to receive such an incredible awareness and transformation within yourself for doing so. Okay, so thank you again so much for being here. Replays will be sent out in a couple hours along with a little bit more information on the homework, things like that. Okay, thank you, thank you, thank you. Have a fantastic day. We'll see you later, guys. Bye.